Hi again then guys, and welcome to another straight line drag setup for Gran Turismo Sport, and this time we're tuning up a car which has had quite a few requests, for obvious reasons. The Veyron, one of the most powerful and one of the fastest street cars in the game. There aren't currently any circuits where you can really push it to its absolute limit, but it is still fast, of course, and you can still compare it to other cars in drag races, be it the quarter mile, full mile, whatever the case may be. Now, it goes without saying that you want to drop the weight as much as you can, of course. You also obviously want to increase the power as much as you can. I'd recommend having traction control turned off, of course. As far as the tyres, super softs seem like kind of overkill for this one, so it's down to you. Don't fit it if you don't want to. It's the kind of car that has so much power and torque anyway that you can just power through that, but you might as well. Just give it everything. As far as the suspension, you want the front ride height as high as possible and the rear as low as possible. Now, not for all forms of drag racing. If you are doing, for instance, the quarter mile where you need more launch, then you might want to increase the rear to, say, 80 or 90 so that you can take up that launch better without bottoming out. Whereas this is optimized more for longer distance drags, so above 200, that kind of territory, because that's where this car really shines. As far as the frequency, we've got that on 1.4 front and rear, anti-roll as low as possible, because it's already more than stiff enough through corners anyway. Compression we've got on 58 and 60, rebound on 88 and 97, neutral camber and toe, of course. You want as much tyre contact to the road to get that monstrous power and torque down. Downforce you can't adjust. As far as the diff, it doesn't matter too much, so just go with what you want. I've got the lowest initial torque with the highest settings, as you can see, all round for acceleration and braking. As far as the gearbox itself, which of course is one of the most important parts, I would recommend the highest auto setting. Of course, regardless of whether you're using miles per hour or kilometers, just stick it on the highest one to get the individual ratios of 2.8, 1825, 1.3, 1, 0.8, 0.7 and 0.650 with a final drive of 2.6. Now, of course, I would always recommend experimenting with other settings, play around a little bit. I tried another setup with a gearbox flip so that you could get stupidly long gears and do, well, crazy speeds. You could do like 200 miles per hour in second gear, but of course off the line it's not very good. So play around, experiment as you would with any drag car, but you can always just come back to this if you find that it's not as quick. So that's it for the setup that I'm using, and now to prove the car, let's, as we always do, take it out on the street to post some times. Now, of course, with a Veyron, you expect it to be fast, but at the same time, it's a car which is very easy to get a bit lethargic about. There are plenty of people who don't like the Veyron, some people who never did like it in the first place, some people have just got bored of it. That's understandable. Personally, I'm kind of indifferent. It's a respectable car, a great technical achievement, but most of us have moved on from it. One of the great things about the Veyron, though, for drag racing is it's really good for less experienced drivers and pros alike, because a pro can get it to be an absolute monster, 310 miles per hour, even without NOS on Gran Turismo 6, for instance, and this is kind of a similar variation of that tune to some degree. But at the same time, a beginner can just jump into this thing and get crazy performance without really needing to be too specialised. And even with an auto box, this can hit 60 in 1.8, 100 in 3.7, 150 in 7.5 seconds, and then above that is where it really comes into its own. This thing can hit 175 miles per hour in 11 seconds dead. That is seriously fast, and of course, the magic double ton, 0 to 200 miles per hour, takes only 15.9 seconds, which means it can easily dispatch any of the GTRs. The Supra doesn't even come close, the Ford GT doesn't really come close either. The LaFerrari might be able to. I haven't done a drag tune on that one yet, so we'll have to see. Potentially the Enzo, but I'm not so sure. I wouldn't think that the Enzo would be quite as close, at least. But top end speed, none of the tracks are long enough yet, so if you do decide to use this tune or check out more, you can do that by clicking through at the end. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.